Welcome to NCIX Tech Tips. Today's episode is all about the ASUS Vivo Book, which basically takes the proven design and technology that went into an Ultrabook like a Zenbook at a more premium price point and brings it down to a cost that pretty much anyone shopping for a notebook can probably squeeze into their budget. Usually when I'm talking about a step-down model, it's not only that sort of, it's slightly lower specs in terms of the speeds and feeds, but you'll usually find something really noticeable to point at and go, oh yeah, that's why it's cheaper. For example, on a Zenbook, you'd find a nice large touchpad. On a Vivobook, you might expect to find a small, insufficient touchpad. You don't. Nice large touchpad. While you might expect to find a lot of flex to the keyboard, you don't. You've got a nice high-quality chiclet keyboard that is very, very solid to type on. While you might expect to find maybe just a 2-point multi-touch screen, you don't. This actually has a 10-point multi-touch screen, just like a flagship model would. It's got a brushed aluminum backing, so it'll look like a premium notebook whenever anyone's, looking at it. And in addition to that, it does feature ASUS's Sonic Master technology for the audio. Last but not least, you'll find all the I/O that you'd expect with super speed USB 3, HDMI, and VGA out, making it suitable for business use. VGA is a plus for that. Gigabit Ethernet, DC power in, which is regular power in, a Kensington lock on the other side, 2 USB 2 ports, a combo microphone headphone jack, and a full-size SD expansion slot round out the I/O on the other side. The bottom of the unit is very plain with just a simple ventilation hole and 4 rubber feet that keep it from slipping around. In order to reach that more palatable price point, the Vivo Book takes everything that's great about the Zenbook and tones it down a little bit. So it's not quite as thin, it doesn't quite have the same amount of battery life, it has a Core i5 on the top line model versus the Zenbook's Core i7. This particular one comes with 6 gigs of RAM, which is very respectable, but there are 4 gig versions also available. And unlike the Zenbook, the Vivo Book uses a hard drive with an SSD cache to achieve the quick wake from sleep times that are required for the Ultrabook label, as well as fast boot times. In my experience in the real world, this actually delivers a very satisfying user experience, but it's not quite to the same level of premiumness that you get from a dedicated boot SSD. It still has wireless N, it still has gigabit Ethernet built in, so you've got all the connectivity you need, but it just comes in at, a more palatable price point. The conclusion for this one's pretty simple. While the Vivo Book is a touch on the thick side for an Ultrabook, it does stay within Intel specifications because remember, this is a 14-inch Ultrabook, which means it's allowed to be a little bit thicker because in order to maintain the rigidity that it needs to be strong and sturdy enough for you to carry it around and chuck it around and use it the way a normal person would, it's just gonna have to be a little bit thicker. The screen is 1366 by 768, so it's a sort of 720p class screen, which is another thing that was stepped down slightly from the Zenbook, which is the more premium model. Thank you for checking out this episode of NCIX Tech Tips on the Vivo Book from ASUS. Don't forget to subscribe for more videos like this from your favorite e-tailer, ncix.com.